Is that my hair? That is my hair. I didn't cut it off for the piece. My partner did it up like that in order to cut it off with the scissors.
Are you sure? I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Really thick. You have a good head of hair.
We just sort of held on to it as a bit of a joke. And then when I was making the furniture, it was already getting pretty silly and loud. So it just sort of made sense to bung a ponytail on the back and give it a bit of personality. A lot of these materials are offcuts from my job as a machinist, or donations, or just leftover for some reason. That's a stone sample, offcut, a gift from another designer. This is the only fabric I actually bought. This used to be my late grandma's dress, so I've repurposed that as a cushion for here. This is a photograph I took in 2011. I wanted some stone in it. This was by far the hardest panel to design around. I don't want to talk about how hard that was. This beautiful walnut bell, leftover offcut from a client's job. Cork with a salvaged IKEA table, and these shells. I learned a lot of woodworking from building a guitar when I was 19, and guitar fretboards have shell inlays as like fret markers. And I've just kind of used them in furniture ever since. So in this application, they're screw caps. So like there's a screw hidden behind that, and that's covering the screw head. But yeah, I think it's a really nice detail you don't really see applied in furniture too often. Looking at the rectangles, they look simple, but there's a lot of design and effort that goes into making just even a simple box. So this is that top panel there. And so you can kind of see how many different parts have to fit into this. So all of these depths need to be really accurate to a fraction of a mil. This needs to be perfect, that needs to be perfect. So everything can butt up and make it square. I know this is like beautiful veneer, but it's just MDF behind it. You can be really rough with this. It's really stable. It machines quite easily. You can't really damage it too much. Whereas the cork, really difficult to machine. It sort of wants to flake off and rip off. It has sort of natural resins in it, so it'll burn if you go too hard, too fast. So you have to be really gentle with something like cork, and you can sort of go hard on MDF. Blackwood is the same, really dense, solid timber. It'll burn if you're not careful. And once it starts burning, the router bit starts heating up, and then it doesn't work too well, and then it breaks, and it starts to fire, and it can get dangerous pretty quickly. But so every material has its own settings and feed rates. But yeah, I'll show you this as well, because this is like when you were talking about the origin of the idea. This is how much sort of thought went into what material will go on what side, what face will be what. Even though I sort of do high-end advanced manufacturing, most of what I start with and most of my ideas are just like pen on paper before it goes into the computer. Yeah, I'll come maybe pull these over here. So it doesn't look like much, but the CNC was used to make a really precise jig that's exactly 90 degrees and it's strong. And this buck, a forming jig, is exactly 300 mil by 300 mil with the radius that I want. So that little red stool that you saw before, that was cut to the right dimensions, and then that gets heated on the acrylic bender, and then that can be formed at the exact right angle using some CNC jigs. So more thought went into this than actually the piece of acrylic that it bent. So I've already machined the back side of this. It'll be a miter join with some brackets that are for strength but also help locate where it goes. Because the machine has cut this rectangle, I know exactly where to place this and it's all sort of lined up properly. So it's using, I guess, like a traditional woodworking method, registering something in a location that you know, using a jig, but you can just be more precise and more confident with a machine like this. I've got one more gimmicky sort of thing I can show you guys actually. So I'm too time poor to wait for oil to dry. So we've got this fancy oil that dries with UV light. So it just cures instantly. Normally you would oil something and then you sort of have to wait overnight, come back, do it again, come back, and then it's ready. Whereas this, you can just sort of rub the oil on and then just wipe it off. Gonna put my speed dealers on. So it's gonna be a UV light, so don't look into the light, but it won't, you'll be fine. So yeah, that's totally dry now. How does it feel? I mean, for me, that's like a really quick and simple process that people are like, wow, cool. And like, oh no, you don't understand, like cutting that rectangle is way more difficult. Like it's another example of taking the technology from industry and using it for this process. It's used in the flooring industry a lot, where they just pump floorboard after floorboard after floorboard, and it gets oiled and then sealed straight away by a light. We bought the light when we were manufacturing beds for a company. Yeah, now I use it for stupid furniture. All of these pieces are made with the acrylic bender, but then there's so much actual, like, I don't know, hand processing, and I don't want to use the word craft, but there's a lot of craft in how you actually execute something like this. Even though the CNC helps a lot, you still need to do a lot of like technical, crafty handwork. It's hard to balance when to be silly or when to really consider something for its material qualities. I think I'm fascinated by really premium stuff like solid timbers, walnut, like solid aluminium. There's a lot of stainless steel in the footrests. But then, yeah, I love the contrast with cheap stuff like vinyl from the $2 shop, MDF. These are rags from Bunnings wrapped around stress balls. Yeah, a mix of valuing the properties of the material along with just being really silly and playful. I've really thought about the height of the footrest, the height of the seat, how much compression there'll be in the cushion, how you would sort of pull it in when you stand up. So yeah, function is obviously really important for a designer. Everything you see here, apart from the armchair and this thing, is in my house. My girlfriend's pissed off because she's like, what are we gonna sit on? Like, you just took all our furniture to the exhibition. But yeah, I sit on these literally every day. You can see the signs of wear. The footrest on the gold stool are worn. My finger marks everywhere. Yeah, no, we sit on these literally every day.